Facebook. Hey, there's been some recent talk Mr. Laska started about my build, and I felt it was kind of long overdue that I show you guys a little bit about what I did for hooking up my Pro Drive and the PowrTran system and the iTroll. So just going to give you a quick overview of that, and I know there's a couple people thinking about doing that, and so far I've been really happy with it. So walk you through it. So I apologize for the wind. I'm outside obviously, and it's a little windy today, but we'll try and get the best sound I can get out of this. So this is my main console here. Basically moved all the controls that are on the steer stick from the Pro Drive up to the front of this console. They're all wired in here. They go down into my floor. I did make this removable because this is one of the highest parts of the boat, so I already have a problem getting it in any other shed other than my machine shed, unfortunately, which is kind of a problem for storage. But anyway, back to this. I worked with Joel at iTroll, and you know, he was extremely helpful. He did some custom modifications to this system. It has more on it than I think a guy really needs, at least than I need, but it's fantastic. And here's my plug for iTroll. I called a couple different companies. I'd worked with another company in the past, and they didn't really want to make a modification. I called another company and I started talking about the potentiometer, which, if you don't know what that is, that's the piece that actually controls your throttle system. And the guy on the other end of the phone says to me, I don't even know what you're talking about. What's a potentiometer? And I thought, you're selling the product and you don't know it. I called Joel at iTroll. He's the guy that answered the phone. He knew everything about this system. He designed it. He understood what I was trying to do, and he was willing to make the modifications, which essentially was, there's normally you've got your max and your run idle up here, and I really wanted to move those to these buttons on the joystick, so that if I'm going, we get a fish on, I can just click on this and I go right to idle. So you can see as I turn this up, there's my throttle. I'm just turning the potentiometer, and then if I'm at throttle and I bump one of these buttons, we go from wherever it was to idle. And there we go, and then it runs back up again. It tells you where it was. This one is max throttle, so you push the other one, it goes all the way to max throttle. And I like the fact on that feature that it doesn't just, boom, put you right at max throttle. It actually idles up, which is kind of nice, so you don't throw a guy off the boat. These buttons right here, this is my up-down system for my tilt trim for my Pro Drive. So that brings me up and down. You got to have it so far up, and then you can kick it into reverse. It's in neutral, I don't have it on. So, and one of the reasons I went with Pro Drive was because you get full power reverse, which, if you guys know anything about mud motors, you know that that's one of the features that Pro Drive really talks about. And for me, I like that because it lifts the rear end of the boat up and it pulls you backwards. So, you know, I've used it a couple times. We got stuck in a tournament on a bog, and I was able to get out of it. I don't know that I would have been able to get out of it with just a standard reverse system. Maybe I would have. I can't. I'm not discrediting any of the other companies that are out there, because I've had a Mud Buddy in the past, and I know they have reverse. Some of the guys have reverse out there now, and I haven't used a system with reverse on theirs. I had a Pro Drive in the past, I had reverse on it. I knew it saved my butt when I was a duck hunter back in the day several times, so that's what I chose to go with on this. So the joystick is actually a Sure Grip joystick. Came from the company Sure Grip. This is a custom system toggle that just sits over the top of the PowrTran controller that they send you. So normally you've got these two buttons here that you can just push with your fingers. I had this guy, and I can hook you up with him. His name's Alton Craig. He's out of South Carolina, I believe. He built my last one for me as a machinist. He built this one for me. I sent him specs on what I wanted. And then this just has a screw in on the bottom of it. Everything was wired and spliced together inside here, so the throttle control is right here. that's about it. I mounted a Helix 5 up here because I wanted to be able to see where I was and where I was going. I got to be honest, I've been having some issues with this. I think it's just vibration. It keeps disconnecting it, so I got to put some silicone in there on the connectors. But I've got a through hull transducer that I mounted, and a lot of guys will tell you, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. You know what, you can. And it took a little bit of fiddling with it. This is a 3/16 inch bottom on the boat, but it does work. After I tuned and changed around with the frequencies, messed with that, you don't get the definition that you're gonna get, but you definitely get depth. And you know, for me, I wanted it that way because when you've got pea soup that you're driving through, sometimes you just want to know, am I in 6 inches of water or I am in 3 feet of water. So anyway, I'll take you back to the motor and show you that quick. I don't want to make this too long. It's already getting long. So here's my Python PowrTran. A lot of this is custom as well. So PowrTran was awesome to work it with. Jeff, their engineer up there, talked to him a lot, and I gotta be honest, I can't take full credit for this. Mike Weckman and his team has been running a ProDrive and a PowrTran system on their boat for a few years now. It's their only motor. So for me, I wanted to do this big motor, little motor deal, have my kicker be this ProDrive, and so we had to do some things different, but we talked about it. This is custom built. I just changed this around. If you're familiar with PowrTran, they have like an arm that comes out here, and that worked for a while, but there was a lot of flex in here. So they have a rubber grommet in here. I took that out of here. We put this quick disconnect in here. I leave it connected, but it seems to be working really well. And then we had to build this mount on here as well. This clamp system comes right from them. So great guys to work with. Everything intermingles in it. The one thing I'll say about the reverse is this is the reverser block, and it would be nice if there was some kind of automatic feature on it, you know, because the motor does kick up and you got to be a little bit careful about that. The other thing I'll say is recently I just had Joe Maruk Boats. If you're looking for a great boat and a great build, check out Joe Morozak. He did a fantastic job on this, but we noticed a little bit of flex in here. There's a lot of weight on that motor and there's a lot of torque. And before we had any problems, I brought it back to him and we put some reinforcements in here. And then this is actually all tied in. I'm not going to crawl in there, but he put another 3/16 inch plate that's reinforcing the whole thing to the back, and there is no flex now. So just be aware that, you know, if you're going to run a mud motor system, you gotta have good solid backing for it. So I trim this thing all the way up when we kick in the big motor, and it doesn't drag at all or anything like that. So here's my servo setup for the iTroll system. So I built this custom as well. It just sits on top here. Ideally, I want to put a cover over this so that if you get in the trees or something, this can't get messed around with. But this drives the throttle system. Everything was taken off on the bottom, and it just runs all the way down to where your handle would normally sit up front here. You can see I just put a collar, took the handle off. Everything else is pretty much stock the way that it comes. This is the X25. Depending on load, I'd say I can get this to push this boat about 22 miles an hour. 22, excuse me. I can get it to push this boat about 11 miles an hour. If I got two guys on here, if I have more than that and we got a big weight, still I can hit 8-9 miles an hour, and I can't shoot fish at that speed. So anyway, that's my setup. You guys have questions, feel free to get in touch with me via Facebook or IM me. You can text me as well. Happy to answer anything that you might have questions on. So that's it. Thanks.